All right, guys, thanks for joining us. I'm here with Pepe.
Andres.
Andres.
Andres,
Felipe.
you can call me Pipe, whatever you
Pipe.
want. Yeah.
Got it. But not in France.
Huh?
But not when
France.
you're in France.
We're
Okay,
not going to go into that story.
So we'll not tell a story on camera, but if anyone wants to know, they can ask you off camera what the story is. So you have a very interesting story. You've been in the United States for a year and a half as a resident living in the United States. You visited prior, but you grew up in Colombia, right?
I grew up in Colombia. My mom came to the States in the year 2000.
Okay.
She came with my little brother, who was like 8 or 9 at the time, but I was already 18, so I couldn't come with her because of immigration stuff.
Yeah.
So she came with my brother, and I went to France. I was studying in a French school in Colombia. So I had the opportunity to go to France, and I went there, and I used to come to the States pretty much once a year. My mom got married to an American guy, and then over time she became a citizen, and she asked for a green card for me, and that process took like 10 years.
Wow.
So from 2007 to 17, and she always was telling me like, "You're gonna get the green card this year.
Yeah.
You're gonna get the green card this year." And I was like, okay. And then the thing never came, and I thought like, this is never gonna happen.
Did you always want to come to the United States?
Not really. I mean, I like the States. I've come here many times to visit my family. I've been a little bit all over the country, as a tourist.
Yeah.
But then in the year 2017, the green card actually came, and I had to come here, but I wasn't like ready to come like all at once. So I went back to Colombia, and I was like going back and forth because you have to spend some time in the States because otherwise you lose the green card. It's like very complicated.
Yeah.
And I was like having a very nice life in Colombia. Like I had a nice job. I have my girlfriend. I have my friends. Like no reason to come really. Yeah. But then, life changes, and I had my first son in 2019. And then, like, you start asking yourself some questions, like, how long can I keep doing what I do? Am I really missing on something? Like, everybody wants to have a green card and the opportunity to come to the States and work legally,
Yep.
So I always had that in my mind.
Yeah. So you came to the States in a year and a half ago, and your experience was in television in Colombia, right?
Yes.
What and it was mostly as you said international correspondent.
No, I was in the international news media.
The international news media.
Yeah.
Got it.
I started a lot of political stuff.
Yeah.
I love politics.
What's the craziest?
Too much.
What's the craziest story you ever covered as?
Oof, I don't know, man. I mean, from terrorist attacks to elections and people getting killed, and I mean many things that happen all over the world, basically.
And you would go to different countries to. You would go to different countries to cover the stories, or
no. I was always from the news station.
Got it.
And then I started as an interpreter actually, because I started working with cameras and stuff, working in TV.
Yeah.
But then when I got out of a job at some point, they were looking for an interpreter in a news channel, and they told me like, "Hey, you speak French, you speak English. Why don't you try it?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I've never been an interpreter. What are you talking about?" I was like, "Try it." And I tried it, and they liked it.
So you did it because you knew 3 languages.
Exactly. Yeah. So I started doing that, and I thought like, okay, I'm gonna take this job. They're gonna fire me in 3 months.
Yeah.
And this is gonna give me a time to find a real job for me. And then I stayed in that job for 7 years.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And then I went into journalism little by little, and then I became like a director of newscast actually. And that was what I was doing in Colombia by the end, and I was really happy doing that. Like I was finally like in a company that I really loved, but I had to make a choice because my lawyer was telling me like, either you come, or they're gonna take your green card away from you.
And you can't get it back again.
I can't get it back.
Yeah. So basically, if you don't use it, they're like, we gave you the opportunity to use it. You didn't use it. You can't ever get it again.
Use it or lose it.
Got it.
That's the kind of thing. And I was like going through many questions in my mind because, first of all, it's like the effort that my mother made to give me that. And
for 10 years.
For 10 years, for plus all of her effort, like being in the country and working as a single mother here in the States. And at the same time, I was also having a second question in my mind, which was my dad, who always lived in Colombia, he was an employee his whole life, right? Like 30 plus years as an employee. And when he was in his 50s, he got laid off. And he didn't know how to do anything else. So he tried to create his own company and to sell his products and stuff like that. And he didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So when I was an adolescent, I had to go through and actually see him like go bankrupt because he didn't know how to have his own business. And then when I was in France in the year 2007, I decided to go back to Colombia. And I went back in 2008. And when I saw my father was already very sick, heart issues and stuff. So he told me, I remember one time he told me like that he regretted being an employee his whole life. And he told me like, you need to learn how to sell. You need to have something of your own and be able to sell your stuff. And 1 year later he died.
Yeah.
So, and that always stuck with me in my mind. Like, I know I'm not a salesman. I've never been. But when I saw my uncle Juan Franco,
yeah,
and I was like following what he was doing from Colombia, like watching his post and everything. Like, what is it? What is it that he's doing? Like, I started getting interest. And when I told him, like, hey man, I've decided to go to the States because I need to try it.
Yeah.
Even if it goes wrong, I need to try it because otherwise I'm never gonna sleep well.
Yeah. Was watching what Juan do? Was watching him have success doing sales part of the reason you came?
Or no. I mean, not really, because my uncle has always been in sales.
Got it.
Like from what I remember since being a kid. Actually, I have a story with him. He used to come to Colombia like once a year, once every 2 years. And when I was a little kid, I was like 9 years old or something. He came and he told me like, hey, I have a business opportunity for you. Like, I was like,
he was already recruiting when you were 9.
I was already recruiting when I was 9. So he told me like, I'm going to give you a bunch of sneakers, you know, like the chocolate bars.
Yeah.
You're going to go to school, you're going to sell them, and you're going to make a lot of money.
That's great.
I was like, okay. And I was so shy that I didn't sell a single chocolate. I just ate them.
You ate them all?
I ate them all. Because at the time, we didn't have Snicker bars in Colombia.
Okay.
Right? So like only the very rich kids had the Snicker bars. So, yeah, like he's always been in business, right? For himself, and he had different businesses and companies and stuff. And my other uncles as well. Like they've been like very entrepreneurial. And my parents, they've been always been like employees, right? And I could very much see the difference, like who's doing well and who isn't.
And I think you have the benefit of, you got to watch the world go through, like when you're in the news, you learn about everything all day long.
Yeah.
And during COVID, you got to see, it didn't matter what country, what part of the world, everyone who was employees were being furloughed, laid off.
Yeah, I mean, I had the chance that I didn't, because I was an employee.
But you got to see a lot of other people going through that.
Oh, yeah.
That was when I realized about our job. Before COVID, I always saw, even though I was in insurance and I believed in our business, I always saw what we did as more risky than having a W-2 job. And then after COVID, I started looking at it as less risky, because I'm like, you actually, if you have the skill set, to your point, if you know how to sell, you know how to manage a business, you know how to, buy a product like leads and then be able to sell, insurance. You understand how to run a real business. And you get paid 100% based on your skill set. You actually are in much more control than if you're a W-2 employee that's paid by somebody. And once that clicked for me, it made recruiting easier, because I'm like, oh, like our job's not risky. Having a boss that signs your paycheck is risky, but you being able to provide your own paycheck makes you be in control of your income and of your life.
I'm learning that as we speak.
And I remember that mindset shift for me was so big, and it happened during COVID, because I had friends who did well, who like, I went down the entrepreneurial route. They had good jobs, but they're good paying jobs. They were furloughed or laid off overnight. And I was in control of mine, and nothing happened. Nothing changed, And I thought that was when it clicked for me that I always wanted to be in control of my own destiny, no matter what it was. Kind of to your point, your dad said the same thing. Like, it would have been nice to have learned how to do a business when I was younger.
Exactly.
And gave you the same opportunity, right? So then he told you that. It was good advice. You come here, you start working, you hit Hall of Fame your first year in insurance. So you sold $400,000. How much total did you sell?
480.
480.
Yeah.
And you made, six figures your first year in the business, which is good money, right? When you started, did you think you were going to be successful? You said you're not a salesperson. No. What was it like when you started?
Well, actually, two things. First, I thought okay, my Uncle Juan is already 60. I know that if anyone in this world is going to teach me or is going to be willing to teach me something about sales, it's going to be him.
Got it.
Right? So, and he already had a heart attack a few years ago.
I was there.
So I don't know. I was like, okay, so if I'm gonna learn from him, it has to be now, right?
Because you were like, if he hangs out with Zach again, he might die. Yeah,
exactly. So I decided to come to the States just also because of the pandemic and everything.
Yeah.
And but when I actually came, my plan in my head was not to go into sales.
Mm-hmm.
My plan was to get a job in TV, in a news station somewhere, hopefully in Houston. And then starting little by little to do some sales and have like a learning curve.
Yeah.
But then I just got here, and a couple of months later, my family was already here, my wife and my kid, and I didn't have a job, and I was like sending, my resume and stuff, having maybe a couple of interviews here and there, but nothing really coming up, and I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
I need to provide for my family now.
Were you selling insurance during that time yet or no?
Trying. I was already licensed. When I got to the States, I arrived in the States in July 23.
Mm-hmm.
I got my license in August, so pretty quick. And I started doing my first sales in September.
Got it.
Like my first appointments and stuff. But I wasn't selling anything because I was terrible. I was horrible at it. I was shy, and I wasn't comfortable talking to people. I was selling in English, and my English wasn't very, very good. And,
your English is very good.
My English is decent, right? But
I think it's very good.
But it's not like maybe like what was your bank account number? Like you hear the guy with the accent, and some people are like, hey, maybe not.
I think your English is better than a lot of our agents who only speak English.
All right. So the first few months were really rough.
Yeah.
Because it was like 3 months and no sales and no job and nothing.
Got it. Was it rough because you just weren't making enough dials, you weren't making enough calls? Were you just like in your head worried that you sounded bad on the phones, or what held you back the first 3 months?
Well, the things I didn't really understand the business. I didn't really knew or understood what I had to do because, of course, I was always watching my Uncle Juan.
Yeah.
But Juan is a guy who, first of all, he knows how to sell.
Yeah.
Number two, he's been in the business for a few years now.
Yeah.
He has a team. He has many things. So he has a something going on for him that already works. Yeah. Right. And I was like, okay, so I can do exactly what he does. And actually, no.
Yeah.
I had to start from the bottom. Right.
So if you had to tell yourself, your new self, because after those 3 months, you started averaging about 50,000 per month after.
Not
or
really.
40,000?
Not really. I mean, my first sale actually happened in November of 23.
Okay.
First sale. And because
so all of September, no sales.
No, I went to an event in Houston where you were there, and I remember watching you, and you were like telling us like you have to have a posture during the call, and you're like a doctor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I'm gonna start using that. So I started using that, dressing better, like applying the advice.
Mm-hmm.
But I was too shy to ask for people for their bank accounts, right? So I was sending a bunch of applications without any banking information. So
do you think you didn't believe in the product enough yet, or is it a cultural thing?
Many things. I mean, I didn't believe in the product very well. I wasn't working hard enough.
Yeah.
And then when I saw John Wedmore in one of our calls, like he made me really understand that something very simple, like how many hours I was actually working.
Yeah.
Like how many hours are you calling people? How many hours are you presenting? How many hours are you recruiting?
Yeah.
So I started like
doing income producing
myself.
Activities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I started like literally timing myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, today I did so many calls, so many presentations I worked, and then I added up the hours by the end of the week, and I realized I was working 8 hours a week. So I was like, and I remember I just went to my wife and I told her, like, I get it now.
Yeah.
This is why it's not working.
What did she think while you were doing this? Was she supportive? Was she worried?
I mean, she's been very supportive because for her it's been also very hard because all of this idea of coming to the States and everything, it's been my thing, my dream, my idea, and she was like, okay, I'll do this with you.
Yeah.
But she had to leave a lot of her stuff behind, right? And she's like going through the whole immigration process, which is very long, very annoying.
Yeah.
She cannot work. She's a student right now.
That's the weirdest part of the.
Yeah.
So, because I have some family and some friends that have gone through immigration process, and some friends who are going through it now. And I know this is completely off topic, but the weird part is that in certain parts of it, you cannot make any money, which is very counterintuitive because you would think you would want productive members of society making money while they're going through the immigration process.
Absolutely.
That part never made any. Do you understand? Is there any reason behind it?
No.
Okay.
I mean, we're just focused on doing things legally.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to do anything illegally.
No, I understand. Yeah, and I know we're talking about insurance, but I've always wondered that part. Like, you would think you would rather have people making money than sitting around doing nothing.
At least, you know, like having the opportunity to work like half time or something.
Yeah.
But not even. So.
And a lot of people still work. They just work under the table, and then there's no taxes taken on the money. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, that turned political for a second, but I've never understood that. So she's very supportive.
She's
of
very
this.
supportive.
Yeah.
I mean, she's very supportive of the house, of our kid, of me. But of course, at some point, like, I could see like the anxiety in her eyes, you know, because I was working, and no money coming in.
Yeah, she didn't see the bank account going up. She saw savings was going down.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then you went to the meeting we were at in Houston. You listened to John. Then did you just start making more phone calls and just focus on activity?
Focus on activity and actually buying the leads, because at the beginning I was just working with the leads that Juan was giving me.
Yeah.
He used to give me some leads and like, okay, if you sell, you give me 20%, or 25%, whatever. But those weren't enough, and I didn't have my own flow of leads.
Yeah.
Right. So
you didn't care about asking people their bank account as much anymore when you spent money on leads.
Exactly.
You were like, I'm not uncomfortable anymore. I have to make money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like because you put your back against the wall and you said, well, I can either ask them for their bank account or go broke, and my wife's gonna be mad at me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or just go hungry.
Yeah, go hungry. Yeah.
So it just came to the point where my mentality was like, okay, this has to work.
We'll make it work.
No choice.
Yeah.
It has to work.
I think everyone that's done well gets to a certain point in the business where they go, I'm gonna stop worrying what people think about me. I'm gonna stop being nervous to ask for bank accounts. I'm gonna stop being nervous to recruit people. I don't care what anyone thinks anymore. I'm gonna make this work.
Exactly.
And it seems like whenever people hit that switch is when their business goes from here to straight up, you know?
Exactly.
And I think that you hit that point, at least on the sales side last year.
I remember I started like actually buying my own leads after the convention.
Got it.
The 24.
How big of a... So I assume you didn't learn a lot of like product stuff at the convention because you work with Juan and you probably understood how the products work.
Mm-hmm.
What is the biggest thing you learned from the conventions both years? Or the biggest takeaway, I guess, that you had?
Biggest takeaway is like, I don't know, like the business mentality, which that I didn't really have.
Yeah.
And that to be honest with you, I still struggle some days because I have like an employee mentality my whole life. So making that change, that has been like the biggest part for me, I guess.
It's so interesting because you say things like you have a employee mindset and you don't speak good English, but you're very intelligent. You speak multiple languages, and you have a good business mindset because you decided one day you were just gonna start buying leads. So I think you're kind of hard on yourself.
Maybe
you're very
smart.
Hard
on myself.
Yeah, you're very intelligent person, and I think you don't give yourself enough credit for that because you had a lot of success. And you wrote 480,000 your first year. You're not an employee. You're a business person now. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think it's cool to see. You may not see it, but I see it. I'm like, no, this is not an employee anymore. This is someone who believes in themselves more than I think you realize.
Yeah.
You know, you subconsciously believe in yourself.
Yes.
So one thing I've noticed from the convention is whenever people go to big meetings, they get around groups of people, they see a lot of people on stage, and they're like, man, if that person can do it, I can do it. Did that happen to you, like the awards?
Absolutely.
My first convention, I remember watching everyone go across stage, and everyone looked different, and there was older, younger, a bunch of people. I'm like, if these guys can all do this, they're not better than me. Mm-hmm. They're not better people than me. Like, I can figure this out too. Did you have that effect out of convention last year? And then I guess this year, did you have the same thing from a recruiting standpoint where, like, if these guys can build businesses, I can do it too?
That's my big challenge for 25.
Yeah.
I haven't built a team. This is my next step, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm going in that direction. Yeah.
So walk us through now, like what does your week look like from how many leads are you buying? What does a day look like for how many dials you're making, that sort of thing? Now that you're working, not 8 hours a week anymore, what does that week look like?
I start dialing pretty much every Monday morning. I always like to start early, like 8 a.m., maybe 9. I get a bunch of leads. I'm spending like around 3,000 to 4,000 a month on leads. And I just keep like my leads very organized in a spreadsheet, It's like something very simple. And I just start calling, making appointments for the same Monday, for Tuesday and Wednesday. And then I try to call pretty much a little bit every day.
Yeah.
And
just to keep
have
adding
appointments
more
every day, to have at least 5 to 6 appointments a day, hopefully more. And
what % of those answer when you call them?
Small. I mean, maybe 30%.
Yeah.
I don't something like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you're doing 6 a day. You work Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday.
Monday, Saturday.
Monday, Saturday. Okay.
Yeah.
So you try to do 30 appointments a week now.
30 appointments a week is my goal.
Cool. And you do 30. You have maybe 12 to 15 people, maybe 10 people that actually you get through an appointment with. Exactly. How many of those do you close?
My closing ratio is about 50 to 60%. I mean,
That's
it's
high.
getting better.
Yeah.
It's getting better. But
that's good. When I was new, my first year in the business, it was like 30%. So it's a lot better than mine.
I was 30% at the beginning.
And now it's gone up.
It's going up.
What is the presentation? What does the initial phone call sound like? So you call me, I'm a lead. I filled out something for an IUL. What do you say?
I always tell them like, hey, hi, hey Zach.
Yeah.
My name is Andres. I'm calling you back. I'm giving you a call back because you send us a request for information about IULs. Do you remember doing that?
Yeah, on Facebook or something like that?
Exactly. It's a video that you watched about policy, life policy with savings account.
Yeah,
okay.
I remember.
So listen, I just, I'm not going to take much of your time. I just wanted to know if you would have some time off maybe today or tomorrow so I can give you a free consultation about it.
Yeah, I get off work at 5.
Okay, so would that 6 or 7 would work
6,
for you?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to send you an email. You're going to receive a text message from me, and I'll see you tonight.
Okay, sounds good.
It's pretty simple.
And then what is you get in the presentation? You do on Zoom?
Yeah.
So we're on Zoom together.
Everything on Zoom, and I'm working right now 100% in Spanish, which I want to change.
That's awesome.
I want to go back to English a little bit.
Do both?
Do both,
yeah. So what does the appointment sound like when we're sitting down?
The first few minutes, the first 5 to 10 minutes, I focus a lot on the person. Like, tell me your story, tell me your age, what do you do for work, what does your family look like?
Yeah.
So that I can pretty much understand the profile of the person. It's not going to be the same if it's a 35-year-old or a 60, right?
So you're trying to get their age, how much they have in retirement savings, if they have kids, no kids, college fund set up, no college fund set up.
Maybe I don't go that far at the beginning, but just to know their age, if they're here in the country legally or not, stuff like that, and especially health questions.
Yeah.
I do a lot of health questions at the beginning because I don't want to waste his time or my time.
Yep.
Like, if you don't qualify, I'm going to tell you right away. Like, hey, listen, this is not going to be for you because X, Y, and Z. And I don't, because at the beginning I was just like leaving all the health questions for the last.
You wait at the end and then you waste 45 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, I'm a diabetic and I have insulin. I was like, dude.
So let's say your average client's probably 40 years old, couple kids, married, maybe they're married, maybe they make $5,000 a month. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
So I'm your average client, let's say 42 kids, married, I make $6,000 a month. Once I give you that information, where do you take the appointment from there?
I just make them understand what is the difference between keeping some money in the bank or maybe putting an IUL.
Got it. Because you said a lot of people, especially Spanish speaking, keep a lot of money in the bank. They don't want to put money necessarily in
and I've talked to people who actually, like, literally, they keep their money under the mattress.
Okay.
And I tell them, like, okay, if there's
so if I say, hey, I keep it under the mattress.
Yeah. Like, okay, how much do you make a month? Like
6,000.
6,000.
Yeah.
Okay. And how much are your expenses? Like
3,000
3,000. So
Yeah.
are you keeping like 3,000
Yeah.
a month? All right. And what are you doing with that money?
under the mattress.
Under the mattress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that people say that a lot?
Not a lot, but I've had some cases.
Okay. Or so it's either the mattress or bank.
Mattress or bank.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I just tell them, okay, so what about if we, just for the sake of the example, let's put 10% of that money here.
Got
and
it.
I show them what it looks like. Okay, so by that time, you're going to have about this saved for your future,
Mhm.
and you can use it as a personal bank if you want. And on top of that, you're going to have protection for yourself
Mhm.
if you get sick, and if you die, your family's going to get the money.
Got it.
Okay. So
So you keep it that simple.
it's very simple. Yeah.
That's not, you don't talk about indexing or any of the crazy things that come up.
It depends
really.
on the client.
Yeah.
Some clients want to talk about
Well,
that.
I think that makes sense. It's very you want to. I think if you're very good at explaining complicated things in a simple way, people will buy.
Well,
you know?
actually, that's what I used to do in TV.
Yeah.
Like I used to take like very huge geopolitical stuff
Yeah.
and try to explain it to people in 1 minute and a half.
Can you give me an example?
So-
Do you have one on top of your head you could think of?
I don't know, the war in Gaza, man.
'Kay.
Like stuff like that. We
Yeah,
have
war-
to very, very complex things
Yeah.
that are extremely complex to understand. And
'Cause
we
that
have to
war
make it
is-
simple to people.
There's 100 years of history,
Yeah.
150 years of history, different groups being in there, different political.
How
yeah.
the electoral system works in the United States.
Got it.
That's something that people around the world are always like, what? The
Yeah.
electoral college? What is that? And
Yeah.
why the popular vote doesn't count? And
Yeah.
there's stuff like that. We had to
Concise.
just explain to people.
Yeah.
So I'm very good at that.
So it's good practice for IULs where you just say, hey,
Yeah.
basically it's just a life insurance where you have some savings that can grow a little bit and you can take the money out without paying taxes.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Keep it very, very simple for people. What do you think is the next step for you to build, or what are your goals for this year for production and for team?
The goal that I've set to myself is to double my production.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes, hopefully. And
What do you have to
and
do to double your production? What's
buy
your
more
what's your
leads,
strategy?
Buy more leads.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't really started yet. But
Got it.
I have to.
You know what they say, right? The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the second objective is to start growing my own team.
Yeah.
Creating my own team.
What do you think your biggest hesitation to growing a team has been so far?
Well, I'm a very shy person.
Yeah.
So like talking to people, I don't know. I don't do that. Like
Yeah.
talking to people at restaurants, or like I'm not very spontaneous with people that I don't know.
Yeah.
So like when I'm in confidence with someone, it's
Yeah.
very cool. Like I can talk all day.
Yeah.
But I don't talk to strangers. Like it's very difficult for me. And,
I'm the same way. Yeah, I got better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I need to get like recruiting leads and campaigns
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I have to start working on that.
I
part of the
think
business.
one thing that helped me, and one thing we talked about offline, but hopefully this will help someone who's watching, is I remember when recruiting in my mind was about me making an override, I had a really hard time doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really care, and I would rather not talk to people than talk to people. Like, I think if you could tell, the way I've heard to measure if you're extrovert or introvert is like extroverts, if they're in a political, or not political, if they're in a setting with a lot of people, a social setting, they feel more energy afterwards. Introverts feel less energy afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I know I'm an introvert, because if I'm around a lot of people and I get done, I feel overstimulated and I want to be by myself and go to sleep.
Exactly, I'm the same.
You and me are the same. Juan's over there. He's like, oh, people? Like, I feel more excited after I'm done with people.
Let's
you
talk
know?
to people.
Let's talk to people, right? But but when in my mind I started changing from going, it's about me making an override, to like, okay, I remember my first year in the business, I netted $273,000. I sold like 500 grand. I spent a couple hundred on leads, and I netted that much money. And I remember someone saying, like, one of my friends said, I wish you had, at my third year in the business, I recruited them. And they said, I wish you'd recruited me earlier. I hated my job and I don't have any money, and we have all these different bills that are behind. They had some family stuff come up, and they're like, man, I wish you would have told me about this earlier, because I really needed, I'm glad I'm here now, but I needed this earlier. Mm-hmm. And I started going, oh, okay, like if this becomes about me giving people the opportunity to do what I do and make more money for their family and provide for their family better, I can be more passionate about recruiting, because it's not about me. It's about helping other people make more money. And if I make some as a byproduct, great. But you sell enough, and I sold enough, where I was like, if they work here or don't work here, I'm making money either way, I'm okay. But if I can help people change their lives, then I feel a lot better about recruiting people all day long. And that's when it became more passionate for me, was, okay, like, yes, I'm making money. more people come on, you make more money. My whole goal with money in life was just not to worry about it. Like I never wanted to have a jet or 10 house. I don't care. I just want to not worry about money.
Yeah.
I want to be able to like my wife to be able to swipe the card and never have to worry about money. You know, I don't want to have to worry where our mortgage payment's coming from. For me, that's good enough, you know? But when it became about changing other people's lives, then I got behind recruiting and I felt really good about it because I've seen different people that have come in and made way more money than they ever thought they were going to. And that's a lot more fulfilling than the small bit of override you make from that. You know, so the mindset shift helped me a lot. Be willing to talk to people who are at restaurants or service workers. Or this morning, I talked to the guy at the valet. It's 24 degrees out in Dallas this morning, and he's sitting out there running back and forth. I'm like, man, you're super sharp. Like, how long have you been doing this for? Oh, 5 years. You have a good work ethic. Why don't you come do sales with me? Oh, really? And I sent him a video, you know? But it's not because I need to make an override from that guy. It's because he's sprinting around like a maniac in the 24-degree cold, you know, waiting on people who give him terrible tips, you know? And I think whenever people can get behind that, like make it more mission-driven and purpose-driven, that's when you become a good recruiter, you know, because it's not about you, it's about the people that you're giving the opportunity to.
I'll just take your advice.
Yeah.
Again.
You will, I know you'll be good at it because you're well-spoken, you have a high business acumen, higher than you think, and you're good with people, like you're easy to relate to. So I think when you decide to recruit, you're going to build a very big team. So
hopefully.
I'm looking forward to seeing it this year. I appreciate the time. You're super interesting. I could talk to you all day long. You're super interesting, but I appreciate you getting on here. Hey, if anyone wants someone to work with, they could teach him how to sell a lot of insurance. Reach out to him and help him get his team rolling.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.